We are live for episode 2 of the Business of Paintball Podcast. I've got Frosty here, Mr. Steve, and it's just a pleasure to have you on the show, especially with how much of a liaison you are for the sport. Doing the MagFed meetups and being at all the events. It was a no-brainer, and so I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today.
No, thanks for asking. I really do appreciate it. Always happy to.
Yeah. Okay. So basically what we like to do, it's just like a 10-question interview, and just kind of touches on your experience in the sport and what you're involved in. And so without further ado, for my first one, if you could tell the viewers a little bit about your current company you're involved in and like job specifics.
Yeah. So currently I'm related to Dizana Sports, which is a soft goods apparel company. So that's jersey, joggers, custom goods, essentially. We draw the line where it goes to like hardware when we're talking like pod packs. We don't really do pod packs at this point. It's been brought up to us, but it's not there yet. And we got some more stuff coming down the line. But what I do for Dizana is I am the scenario sponsorship program manager. So all the sponsored teams underneath the scenario side of the house for Dizana work with me currently. And I'm more than happy to get them what they need and make sure they look good on the field and off the field too, because we also do casual wear. So that involves a lot of just networking and talking to teams. A lot of the teams, I already had friendships within that we currently sponsor, and some of them are relatively new to me. And I've been pleasantly surprised by just about everybody. So we have a great lineup of teams currently, and yeah, I just couldn't be more happier to help them get done what they need to do. So.
Yeah, I'm wearing one of their shirts right now, and it is probably like one of the softest dry fits. And I love the colors too. It wears nice. It looks good. It's if you haven't checked them out
comfortable.
Yet. Yeah, like this was my go-to. One of my new favorites for the season for sure. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely. How long have you been working with them for?
So I paired up with Tim and Dizana originally as a brand ambassador when I left my former team, TSOC, in late June, early July of 2020. So 2020 was a very interesting year for a lot of reasons. So like I said, I started off as a brand ambassador, just kind of being me, going places, talking to people, helping promote the brand. And then by the end of the year, Tim, boss man, and also the lead designer, he came to myself and Panda, Warren Leas, and said, hey, would you guys be interested in building out and setting up a sponsorship program for the scenario side? Because Dizana's always had a ball tournament world, having sponsored like Seattle Thunder and currently Colorado Blitz on the semi-pro line. Tim wanted to get a little bit more impact within scenario world. So we built out a program that is discount based for the various scenario teams. That we took a lot of our experiences that we've had with sponsors in the past, scenario players, vastly different from the tournament side of the world. And we took what we liked, made sure we're not doing what we didn't like. Because most of us have all been on the side of the deal that doesn't really get a whole lot of support, and I never want us to be looked at that way. Yeah. So we built it out with kind of just maintaining that balance there and recognizing, hey, where can we actually bring value to the teams instead of just going, hey, let's slap our logo on your ass like a NASCAR driver and send you out to the field. And that was it. So, so we kicked that off January 2021 to an insane reception. Instantaneously, we had, I think in the first week, something like 70-something inquiries into, hey, we're interested in the sponsorship program. And then we had to go through, Panda and I, like we already had been talking to some teams, so we knew who we were going to initially start with and then bring some others in. And so Panda and I had to go through and kind of like find a way to figure out the metrics to vet these folks and how they would fit in with us and how can we actually provide the support. And the big tenets of the sponsorships involve just wearing the jerseys, So all the sponsor teams, they wear our jerseys.
Mhm.
Joggers are a different thing. Not every scenario player like joggers. We recognize that. And pants are a very personal thing, much like shoes.
Yeah.
So not everybody's going to like joggers. That's okay. I was on that I'm not a jogger fan train, and then I started wearing them. I'm like, okay, I dig it. And then actually at NXL Philly this past weekend, I actually got myself finally a pair of HydroFit knee pads, so I'm not blowing my knees out constantly. Not the
Yes.
pants, my actual knees, because age sucks. So wearing the jerseys, some social media posts a month, and then just be a good steward and a good ambassador of paintball as a sport, not just Diana, but represent yourself well in your physicality and what you're doing at the field, both on and off the field, as well as online. Don't be a dick. Like
Yeah.
it's full stuff.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, like we talk to the teams like that, and some folks are like, "Oh, we're already getting our jerseys to this person. We're not looking to change." And I'm like, "Hey, that's fine. Then this isn't going to work for you. But if you want to do any custom work elsewhere, we're more than happy to have that conversation. It's just not going to be on sponsorship discussion. That's all." So, and yeah, that led to us doing like joggers for some teams, dry fits for another. So we're always open to still working with teams, even if it's not underneath the sponsorship.
And I think that's so important too. I have a real appreciation for those companies that I feel push growth on both sides of the house, whether it be tournament and the rec scenario side. Because sometimes I feel like there's those companies that just have that one way avenue. And sometimes I get it, budgets aren't where they need to be, but it's always nice when they're looking to innovate and improve for the sport as a whole, and it doesn't feel like they're favoring one side to the other. It feels like there's just a vast, appreciation for growth for all its customers across the board. And I really, appreciate when companies take the time to do that.
Yeah. A good example of something how we're trying to do that and grow more into the scenario side more is it's made it off the physical drawing board, and we're now in material sampling for stuff that makes sense more for scenario players, because some people want cargo pants or cargo pockets on the pants when they're playing scenario games.
Yeah.
And that kind of matters. So we're designing some stuff right now that maybe later this year will be in testing phase. I'm hoping, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But we're always constantly trying to improve our products. Even stuff that's currently existing and is doing fine, we want to still improve upon it, whether it's reducing the weight of a jersey if we can, if it makes sense, without sacrificing the structural integrity. And like our stuff's already super lightweight, but we know we can get it lighter and still be as durable. So we're going to strive towards that. So
Constant pursuit of perfection, which I think is awesome. Yeah, like I said, this thing is super, super soft. It's very comfortable. And I mean, it's held up a lot. Like I've had some dry fit shirts, they get pulled and they lose their kind of softness after a few washes. But I mean, this thing's been holding up really, really nice. And so
I think guys who just wear the dry fits as like their on-field jersey, just as like a short sleeve, and they do just fine with them. So I mean, Uncle Sam has one of these shirts. The first time he got his, it was Bones and Ashes of 2021, and he forgot his jersey, so he wore my shirt out there in down at Black Ops, and it survived the entire weekend without popping a stitch. I'm like, hey, all right, even our t-shirts are great.
And see, that would be cool too if we did a dry fit with a collar for the guys wearing chest rigs, so it doesn't rub your neck.
Yes, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's jump into the next question then. So this, what early or companies have you worked for in the paintball industry, if any? Or is this kind of your first big
actually worked for? This is the first time like I've been on the industry side of paintball in any fashion. Prior to this, like I said, it was brand ambassador for Diana, and that realistically only lasted 6 months before I jumped into the industry side. Started doing what I'm currently doing. But even prior to that, I was just a player on TSOC. My last kind of responsibilities while I was on TSOC was as the social media coordinator and also kind of relationship manager with some of the team sponsors at the time. So, and that was it. I was very firmly on the player side of things, on the sponsee side.
Gotcha. And I think that helps too, because then it, like you said earlier with you guys, it helps you identify bad situations you've experienced to try and prevent that, for your customers and sponsored players moving forward. Do you have a company ad or logo, like paintball logo, or like blip you remember from like way back when? Or is there one that stands out?
So I started playing kind of indoor tournament ball for high school in like the kind of northwestern PA, or not northwestern PA, excuse me, Northwest Philly area, because I went to a military academy out that way. The place called On the Fly Paintball. And like I was out there playing airball and high school tournament stuff with an A5 and a 20-inch barrel. Okay,
Yes.
It was not ideal. Also a remote line. That's when I also learned you can't put your marker down on the field and do a combat roll to grab the center flag, because you'll just be out.
Oh my God.
I made that mistake. Funny enough, that's also the first time I met Greg Hastings, and he smoked my ass 3 guns in a row. I'm like, I'm good. I'm not that cocky.
Wow.
And like back then, I was
bright yellow on the top and jump boots, which have zero grip on the bottom. So, so as far as logos go, Tittman stood out going back forever. I mean, that's an iconic, just the big red and black Tittman. Boom.
Yeah.
I just realized my earbuds disconnected. Whoops. Not sure why. Let me see if I can get it back.
Oh, you had a little sound change there for a sec.
Yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
There we go. All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So yeah, Tittman logo sticks out in my head big time. I mean, for many of us, the Tittman 98 was our starting marker back in the day. The first time you ever went to a field, that was the rental marker you used.
Yep.
Past that, logos, the CP logo that was on barrels back in the day, that sticks out. What else? Yeah, that's those are probably the two that go back the furthest in my mind.
Yeah.
That and the Smart Parts Ion logo. I mean, you can't really screw up a crosshair. So
yep. And those, I still have my Smart Parts lady barrel cover too, that they did like way back when. They had the ladies posing. Yeah, I found it. My dad found it in my gear bag in California, and he sent it out to me. And I'm just like, my wife's like, really? What's
gotta be worth money?
Like, what do you got here? I'm like, oh, that's from way back when. Don't you worry. It's that old
I've
logo.
I've seen some much raunchier stuff on barrel bags these days.
Yes, I saw some goggle straps actually that I guess now they're doing. Well, I'm sure they've always done it, but what did they call them? The dad straps or something like that, and it had like all kinds of porn stars and stuff on them. Just like, really.
There's a market for everything, and sex sure shit sells.
It was like straps for dad or straps for something with dads in them. But yeah, it was pretty funny. I'm like, wow. All right, here we go. Okay, so next question. What was your first product collab or first, thing that you kind of had touched your hand to?
So when I was getting set up to be a brand ambassador for Dizana, I got to design my own jersey, and I picked, just to keep life easy, one of his normal prints. And then in MS Paint, I drew this, and I was like, Tim, can you make this look prettier? And he, boom, did that. I was like, perfect. Don't mess with it. But I laid out like all the placements and everything on my jersey in MS Paint, because I have zero, and I mean zero, possibly negative design skill. And Tim took that. It was like, okay, here you go. Like 20 minutes later, boom. Kept it easy. But as far as physical product creation, something that is in the works right now is I put a lot of emphasis and guidance behind, like, we need to include these kind of features on this product because it's going to serve this particular kind of market, being the scenario market. Because these are the questions and the desires I'm hearing from players constantly. Like, hey, yeah, I like the joggers, but I wish I had X included on them, or Y, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, hopefully later this year I can talk more openly about it.
No, I dig it. Okay, so
it's in the works. That's the best I can say.
That's exciting, though. I mean, it's always good to, especially when you know someone that has like physical involvement with something coming out. It makes it even more exciting. So
there is one other thing, and it's more not necessarily the physical product, but the design aspect behind it, which is so Skirmish's Invasion in Normandy.
Mhm.
I was asked to be one of the guest XOs coming up. What is that, in like 2.5 weeks or so? Not even.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, Paintball Woodstock's coming. So I was asked by the Allies on the High Command to be one of the guest XOs. And these are guys that also produce alongside me for the collapse. My headlined game in December that I not by myself produce. So it's myself, scenarios, Cypher Scenario Consulting, and Solstice Law, who is great referee. In fact, we just had a meeting about the second one last night, so we're already piping up, getting ready for the sequel here. But Allied High Command asked me, "Hey, you want to be a guest XO?" I said, "I can't." I understood that Allied Command at that point was getting their jerseys through social. I said, "I can't really wear a social jersey for that for obvious reasons."
Yeah.
Is it okay if I basically copy the overall design of the Command jersey and just make a Dizana jersey out of it? So they're like, "Yeah, sure." So I go to Tim. We went through it. He mocked it up. They said yes, but hey, why don't we go a little bit deeper with it? So I was like, well, what are we talking here? Initially, it was converting the leader jerseys into the Dizana jerseys and doing a little bit of a stylistic update, not anything too drastic. If you put them side by side, you'll notice differences, but it's not so punch you in your face kind of difference.
Okay.
So like the Allied leader jerseys for all those the skirmish big three games, they all have the red, white, and blue armbands embedded on the jersey for Allied High Command. So players instinctively at this point, having played that game for last several years and seeing those jerseys, oh, the red, white, and blue armband means that's a leader. I can go to him and be like, hey, where am I supposed to be?
Gotcha.
So we wanted to keep certain aspects of it, modernize some of it, and create a little bit of distinguishment between like high command and like field leaders. So we did that. That was received very well. And
cool.
So Allied Command was like, why don't we make something for the general player? I said, well, if we're going to do that, why not do unit variants while we're at it as well? So at the end of this whole process, there's like damn near 30 variants of the Allied jersey.
Wow.
At the end of this.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so we listed it on the site. Dizana, due to certain requirements, could not promote the jersey, but Allied High Command, it was their baby. So the Allied High Command, the leadership within the Allies command structure, were the ones pushing it. And so the General Infantry jersey and Tech T, those were available on the website, and they came in the Grind Core, the Grind Air, and like I said, dry fit short sleeve Tech T. And so those sold actually surprisingly well,
nice.
More than I expected. And it was like, wow, all right. And then we had unit variants where it was essentially the General Infantry one, but like if it was a player from the 101st, they could get the 101st Screaming Eagle on the back, or First ID,
cool.
or 3rd Canadian, SAS, whoever. We did one for every single unit within the Allied structure, and all through the guidance of Allied High Command. I mean, they were essentially the customer in this case, and we were just trying to flesh it out as much as we possibly could. So had we more time, we would have launched it a little sooner, but we ran that pre-order essentially for a month, and we just got everything in over the last 2 weeks, and most of that's already been shipped to customers. And
wow.
So when we go up to Ion in a couple of weeks, we're going to see a lot of people wearing Dizana jerseys that previously, more than likely, previously never owned a Dizana jersey. So that might create other customers in the future. Maybe they'll come to the booth, go, hey, we love the jersey, or hey, I fucking hate it. Whatever they feel like saying, it's okay. Hopefully they don't hate it. I don't think they will. But yeah, so that's something I was kind of proud to help be a part of. Granted, I'm not the designer. Tim, I always overpromise what Tim can do. I'm like, and I tell people, hey, I could say yes to you all day long. Tim's the one that has to do it, though.
He's got to do it.
Yeah. A lot. I'm learning, like, let me check with Tim and make sure we can do this. Like, it's within capability. We had one team ask if it was possible, I don't know if you are familiar with professional wrestling. Ultimate Warrior had those like wings on his arms, underneath his arms. Somebody wanted that on their jerseys. I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I can tell you just like with 100% certainty, we cannot do that, but we can do the rest of the jersey for you. We just can't do that.
You have to put the wings on yourself.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yourself, sorry. I'm sure they can find somebody.
That's awesome though. Ion's one of those games. It's a bucket list game for me. And I was hoping
You've
to make
never
it
been?
this. No, I've never been. I've always had to work on the weekends. I'm hoping maybe this year I can make it to Sunday, make it to the final day. But
I mean, it's still worth it. I mean, the beach phase is always the spectacle, without a doubt. And because this is actually my first year playing Allied, I've only actually played the event one other time, and that was a couple years back, and I was playing German, and that's when the Germans won. I'm just gonna say.
Oh, dig it.
I'm there, and wins happen. But
yeah.
But yeah. So the requirement of me from Allied High Command is I have to run out of every single boat at least once.
Oh
So
shit.
it's going to be a very painful Saturday for me. I pride myself on avoiding getting lit up very often. That's going to suck.
Oh man.
So.
Well, at least you'll be lightweight running with that MG, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not running with a hopper.
It gives you the best chance. Yeah, it gives you.
And my Whiskey 2-4 rig arrives on Monday. So, I mean, I'm going to be like super late the whole time. I'm not going heavy. It's July. It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I'm hoping to try and make it next year. This year with all the house sale stuff, it's kind of pushed things. Made it a little funky. But next year, I'm going to try for a few games at the end of this year. And then hopefully next year, that'll be, we'll go for the whole event.
Life gets priority. Some people fail to acknowledge that in many cases, and they end up paying for it later. So.
Yes, unfortunately, got to do your responsibilities.
Priorities straight. Yes, got to be a responsible adult.
Absolutely, got to adult. All right, so next question: when was it that you truly feel like you got a good understanding of the importance of the business side of the sport? You know, moving past that player.
Sorry, say that again. Start from the beginning because it completely cut out on me there.
I saw that. Okay, when was it that you started to understand the importance of the business side of the sport, like moving past, you know, a player to really understanding that, you know, the work on the other side is bringing value to the overall?
So I mentioned before, I was roughly the last year and a half that I was on the team. I started people like Ryan Sexton, who at the time was with GI running their brigade program. And now he still has the brigade program. It's just not directly attached to GI.
Yeah, it's freezing a little bit.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I saw the red bars go. I'm like, oh, I should stop for a second.
No, you're okay. I think we're good now.
Okay. So like I was saying, in my last year and a half with TSOC, I was the sponsorship relationship manager. And from there, I got to meet some of the folks on the industry side of the house that were also supporting TSOC. So it's yellow now. Sorry.
No, you're good, man.
I mean, I can see you and I can hear you. It's that red, you have red bars at the bottom is the only part I'm concerned about there.
Yeah, because I put it on the faster network.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this should.
Let's balance out now, I think.
Yeah, hopefully that should move us into the twilight. Oh, we're halfway there. Come on, we're almost. we're moving. We're moving.
All right. So from the top.
Okay.
So the question was, when did I realize the industry side of it matters? That player moving into industry kind of barrier breach, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in my last year and a half or so with TSOC, I began kind of helping manage the sponsor relationships, and that's when I started building a relationship with Ryan Sexton, who at the time was with GI and ran their brigade program, which was the scenario side kind of sponsorship support from GI at the time. Fast forward today, Ryan's one of my best friends. He's not directly with GI anymore, but does a lot of work with them still. Brigade program's its own independent thing. So talking and working with him and building that relationship and friendship I got to learn some of the stuff on the industry side of the house that I would have probably never been privy to as your random player. Just kind of seeing how the gears work in the background, what it takes to get paint to events, how some of the apparel side works, how the hardware side works. And that's when I kind of started seeing kind of a larger picture with it. Did I at the time think I was going to be involved in anything on the industry side? Absolutely not. Wasn't even a concept in my brain at that point. So that probably started with Ryan, kind of just teaching me a lot of that stuff. And then it just progressed further when I started working with Tim for Dizana. So
now, would you say that Ryan would be kind of your first like business paintball mentor when you go into that side of things?
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely say that. Another kind of mentor of it as well is Brian Barno for OXCC, getting to see the field side as a field owner and hearing what his challenges are as a field owner, as somebody who owns multiple fields, 3 fields currently, got the Chesapeake City, Hatfield, and Linglestown. So, and then there's always the production side of scenario paintball. And like I have been lightly exposed to that in a way with TSOC, because TSOC used to do scenario games. I produced them and did some absolutely awesome ones that I probably would have loved to play at the time. But at that point in paintball, for me, it was not as important. And so for those games, I was either just a roaming ref. I was a role player for a mission during the Fallout New Vegas game that we did, and that was about it. And now working on the collapse with Cypher and Solstice, I'm given the freedom to actually design the game from start to finish and the flow of it. We have a team that works on the storyline to support the flow of the game and the role players and the mission writing. So then we have a fantastic prop master with Riff, who does an amazing job. A lot of the stuff that we used for the collapse was built by his own hands. Sorry, my earbud keeps popping out. So getting now, going from, let's say, 2017 to now, seeing the industry side, seeing the field side of stuff, seeing the production side of stuff, and also general in games, which originally I didn't think would, or originally I thought would be more fulfilling for me. It wasn't that it wasn't fulfilling, it just, I don't know, wasn't enough for me, I feel like.
Okay.
From a general's perspective for games, you're spending a lot of your social credit to get players to come to an event, spending their money to travel to an event that you're doing where you're headlining. And I kind of saw being a commander or general at these games as more of a partnership with the producer to make sure it is a good game. I don't care if I win or lose. I really don't. It's what matters far more to me is did the players who are spending all that money to travel to that game, so like driving down to Black Ops for me as XO for Bones and Ashes last year, did they have a good time? That's the only thing I care about. I don't give a shit about the score. Because them having a good time is the only reason we're able to do the things we do.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
So yeah, it was more than just industry side that kind of started with me talking with Ryan. It kind of spiraled into all these different avenues.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's important too. And that's what we're hoping, you know, with this podcast is just to bring multiple facets from the business side of paintball, you know, field owners, brand ambassadors, you know, pro players, company owners. And that way we can hopefully create a good community of people that all have the same goal of creating a good user experience and growing the sport and keeping on the field. So no, I dig that. I dig that a lot. And I truthfully didn't understand the thought that went into creating these games until I started playing with you at the meetups, you know, because at first I would just show up at the game, say, hell with the scenario, you know, I just want to go shoot people, you know, but now you see everything that goes into it. And if you really kind of take the time and, you know, pay attention to kind of the storyline that's going on, it can make the experience even that much better.
Exactly. And we kind of pride ourselves ourselves with designing the collapse, and that the fact that if somebody just wants to show up and shoot at other people, you can absolutely do that. We provide you with ample opportunity to. We try to have a little bit of something for everybody in there. If you just want to go fight over flags and shoot at people, we have that in the collapse. If you just want to run missions, whatever about the story, and just want an objective, sorry about the dog.
Oh, it's okay.
You just want an objective to fight over, you can absolutely do that. There are missions if you get looped in with commands and whatnot for these games. And then if you care about the story, holy shit, do we have a great story for you.
Yeah.
And for those unfamiliar, it's the collapse is based during the early to now transitioning to the mid 80s, Cold War era, CIA versus KGB, a little bit of espionage kind of stuff tagged in there, kind of shadow war stuff. It's completely fictional. We play around in history, but not directly with it, is the best way I can describe it.
Okay.
And then with everything that happened earlier this year in Eastern Europe, we had to kind of readjust certain things.
Had to pivot.
Yeah, we had to pivot a little bit because before the first game even kicked off, we were like, okay, where do we want to take this game for year two as far as story? And we came up with some stuff. And I mean, it's the 80s. What happened in the 80s that was kind of big that involved Russia? Maybe something went boom.
Yep.
Yeah. So we wanted to play around with that bit of history a little bit. Now with everything that happened,
too soon.
Ukraine, yeah, we were like, yeah, we're gonna stay clear of this completely.
Oh, pivot.
But still kind of play in the same time period.
So. Yeah, that's cool. That's funny. Okay, next question. What is your favorite paintball company of all time? They can be still existing or rest in peace.
So the Smart Parts Ion was something that was a massive game changer for me as a player, not just for me either, it was for a lot of people, and then also from an industry's perspective. Because prior to that, there was autocockers that were a bit more expensive than like your 98 rentals and stuff.
Yeah.
And they took a lot of engineering. You had to know your marker in and out. But they're still great today. You get an autococker from 20 something years ago, it'll still work today as long as you've taken care of it.
Yeah.
Same can be said about the 98 though. I mean, dig that thing out of the mud and throw some new O-rings in it, and
it's that AK.
Go. Yeah, it's the AK-47 of paintball. It still works. And past that, electronics in the mid 2000s were not as widely available as paintball markers. So that's the Ion coming onto the market as an electronic. It was at a affordable price, changed the game across the board, not just with the actual like internals of it, because that definitely affected a bunch of markers after the fact. They looked at it and went, they did that right. Let's yoink. And so I think the Ion and Smart Parts had like the unicorn at the right time for paintball guns.
Yeah.
So my Ion sticks out to me. I wish I still had it. It was improperly acquired by somebody at some point. So yeah. High schoolers are terrible, man. But then past that, I've been playing MagFed now since I want to say 2012 or 2013. My first MagFed marker was Milsig M17 CQC, and I ran that thing until the internals were rusty. I mean, that thing got run into the dirt. I beat the shit out of it. I kept it pretty clean, but I beat the shit out of it. So Milsig and maybe Smart Parts. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that thing came out, because at the time, I was competing in the early 2000s, and I was a broke high school kid, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
All the markers I had were a year to 2 years behind because that's what I could afford. I had a DM3 when the 5s came out, and it was a brick, but for me it was brand new, and so when those Ions,
it worked.
Yeah, when those Ions came out, man, it was a game changer. And then that and the Virtue Board commercials that they do, the woo.
Yeah.
Just spit and paint. But yeah, I've seen some people these days try and convert them, like make a mech, and they run really well too. But I'm like, might as well just there's
You
other
lose a little bit of
things.
nostalgia. Yeah, there's better mix if you're going to be making conversion. There's other ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so next question. Is there anyone or any paintball business now that you'd like to collaborate with on a project?
That's a fantastic question. I don't know an answer to it, if I'm being honest with you. So Simon Stevens makes miracles happen.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Quick guns, I know you know. You've seen what I play with. For obviously the people watching, what I use for my MagFed stuff now is a Planet Eclipse EMF 100, but it has all of Simon Stevens Inception design stuffs on it instead now. And I don't have any of the cool guy tactical stuff on there. It is bare bones. It's a weigh right now, otherwise I'd show it off. But it weighs absolutely nothing, even fully loaded, and it shoots like the smoothest marker you've ever held.
It does.
I'd like to say I want to collaborate with Simon, but I wouldn't even know how. Like, he is so on the engineering side of the hardware piece. I would just be away. But I know Dizana, we've started doing some business with Simon, so I'm just happy to see Simon going to be having some of our stuff, whether it's casual wear or jerseys down the line kind of thing. So
yeah, I love what he's doing, and man, his products, they're so nice. I mean, I shot your marker at the last meetup, and it was just like, yeah,
it's butter.
Butter. Like, it makes me want to build a second one just so I can have another option.
Yeah,
because it's just but
when you don't want to carry all that stuff, there's nothing better. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I got this minimalist rig from Whiskey 24 that I'm getting on Monday, and it's more of like a pistol belt rig.
Oh, nice.
That's it. Yeah, I don't want all the stuff hanging off of me anymore.
Yeah, it gets real hot. I try not to do any chest rig in the summertime because it's too much heat for it. Just run a belt.
I remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The sun doesn't like me. Yeah, no, sun's not my friend.
No, it does
it is not my friend at all. But yeah, so we're learning to adjust so that way that we can still have a enjoyable experience. Okay. Next question. What do you think paintball businesses can be doing better?
Customer service. I don't say that with anybody in mind. It's more that people tell us at Dizana about how much they enjoy our customer service, and it makes me wonder what's everybody else doing.
Yeah.
Example, we had a factory mix up with a material thing earlier this year. It caused some jerseys to rip as players were putting them on. We found out about it. We're like, hey, we're just going to replace those jerseys. Done. No question about it. We're just going to replace them because we don't want shit product out there that doesn't help. And the players are never going to be accepting of that in any fashion. So from what I understand, not everybody would do that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, why? Paintball is not big enough where you can just hide mistakes like that.
Yeah.
So it's not just soft good companies. There's another company that I hear actually really good customer service about, and hopefully I never have to encounter them for good reasons. There's Planet Eclipse, as far as I know. They have great customer service. I hear about how great their techs are at these events, if you contact them, that kind of thing. I've heard they're great. It makes me wonder, why do you only hear about them and not other companies?
Yeah.
So if your customers, again, this is my opinion here, your customers aren't singing the praises of your customer service, you need to make some improvements. That's all.
Yeah.
So, and that's not out like saying with any specific companies in mind. It's just a general statement.
Yeah, and it makes sense, especially I'm just on the customer side of things, but that's one of the things I look for when I'm making a purchase. I feel like you vote with your money, and so if I'm putting my money into something, I want to know that, on the back end, heaven forbid something happens, it's going to be taken care of, and that it's going to people that are really kind of making sure the experience is good for everybody. And I think that's important.
Yeah. Customer service, regardless of why they're reaching out to you, good customer service generally leads to follow-on business with a given customer.
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely. Like for example, I do the Champions Club for Dynasty, and we were supposed to get dry fits this month, and they got 275 of them, and they all had Greenspan's name on the back.
Wow.
So we were in a meeting last night, and they're like,
crew.
so everyone's stuff's getting delayed because, and they're like, stuff happens. I mean, they ordered it 2.5 months ago, and it took a while for it to get in. And, it's one of those where like, hey, this happened. They're up front, and they're like, we're taking care of it. And, everyone's going to get squared away. And so it's just, there's some things that are just out of your control, I feel like, but it's how the company handles it, and they get in front of the problem, and I feel like it says a lot about the company as a whole. It made for a funny anecdote as well, because now they're like, we were in the meeting last night, and they're like, yeah, so let's give away some Greenspan shirts. We got 270.
I guess, yeah. Or it's now rebranded from Dynasty to just Greenspan.
Oh my gosh,
or
so
Greenspan
funny.
has a lot of dry fits to go through. Yeah,
A
one
lot.
for every day of the year.
A lot.
Various sizes.
But
You may put on some weight and still have a shirt.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But yeah, so 275
That's a
later.
big fuck up. Wow. That's expensive. That's just expensive.
So, but yeah, but I mean, it's things like that where I feel like that it says a lot about you and how you handle it, because you can't control it. I can't get upset because it's not really in my control either. You just know that they're doing their best to take care of it and get everyone squared away.
I gotta ask though, at some point, did whoever was printing those go, are all these supposed to have Greenspan on the back? Like, a lot of common sense, I feel like, had to get overridden for that to just happen. But hey, whatever.
It's crazy,
That's a massive script. There's gonna be
test. Greenspan.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I guess. Somebody's gonna find a lot of Greenspan Dynasty dry fits in a Goodwill somewhere.
Right. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean, but it happens, especially now with the supply chain stuff and everything else. I mean, I feel like that just makes little hiccups like that even more monumental because of how long people are already waiting with lead times and things like that. But no problem. Okay, so last question. If you could coin duel anyone from history to Alex's one-on-one paintball challenge. If you could challenge anyone, they could be a paintball player, they could be a person from history. Alex picked John Wilkes Booth. He said that'd be.
So I'm gonna give you two answers: one paintball world, one not.
Okay.
Just to say I did it with more, maybe not skill, but knowledge under my belt, I'd probably be like, hey Greg, let's go at that one more time.
Dig it.
He'd still probably fucking smoke me, but that's okay. At least I can say, hey, you know what? I'm older and I wasn't a child, so I don't feel as shitty about it. I didn't come at him with an A5 this time.
Right.
Then in history, shit. I'm just gonna say it's for censorship's sake, a very, very bad man, and somebody gets killed every year, kind of thing. So might stave off a couple million deaths back then,
Right. Okay.
But that's about it.
I dig it. All right. No, I dig it. Well,
I put stakes on the line for that one.
Do some stakes. Oh, I dig it. I dig it. Well, that is all the questions I have for you today, good sir. Do you want to make any shout outs to your sponsors or anything like that before we wrap up?
So, obviously, Titanic Sports, you can check us out at titanicsports.com. We got all sorts of stuff. We're going to have a massive showing for Ion. We're currently in the middle of a restock for everything. So we're also going to be unveiling some new stuff at Ion. So please come by the booth, take a look. Both new printed designs on t-shirts and maybe some new colorways for a couple different items.
Super cool.
They are rather patriotic. You'll see it when you see it, kind of thing. It looks really good. And if it indulges you, you can use code Frosty on the website for a 10% off thing. You don't have to.
Nice.
It's okay. There's plenty of other ones you can throw out there as well. So, past that, Inception Designs is a personal sponsor of mine. Simon makes a phenomenal product, as we were discussing before. Please check out Simon's site. It's inceptiondesigns.com. He has a bunch of PE modifications, different body kits for all different markers, not just Magnet stuff. Lots of EMEC body kits on there. If you want to add a little bit of Milsim to it, you can. It's got a Ranger body that has 2 little Picatinny rails, and it's not like a full thing if you don't want all that. So yeah, he's got a lot of fantastic additions and updates and even internals for these markers. So please go check it out if you're more of the PE flavor, by all means. Outdoor Extreme Chesapeake City is my home field, though I do live in North Jersey. Brian Barno and Gizmo run a phenomenal field there. It's also flat for all of us that hate going up hills with our knees. And food's good there. They don't charge you an arm and a leg for the food, which is really nice. That's rare at paintball fields, I feel, these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they use Prestige paint. And I gotta be honest, Prestige actually is one of my favorite brands at this point. Like, sponsorship stuff aside, it's just consistent and reliable, even in magazines. So feel free to check that out when you go there. I know OXCC has a number of scenario events through the year, and they also host a couple different tournaments through the year as well for the speedball side of the house. So check them out. And then easy plug for the collapse again, if you happen to be interested in scenario play and you're in the northeastern Maryland area or within a couple hours. December 3rd, which is the first Saturday of December. It's really the last safe weekend for big games of the year, weather-wise. Knock on wood. But it's a kind of an old school scenario. The best compliment we got last year with ours is that it was an old school scenario. That was by one of the greats of scenario paintball, Danny Barney Alamo, the man who walks around in purple Stetson.
Right, absolutely.
It is a 6-hour scenario, start to finish. We don't stop in the middle, switch sides. Starts at 10 a.m., goes till 4 because daylight does not last that long in December. And we change up where the spawns are located for most OXCC events. We do north-south center as opposed to northeast-southeast for spawns. So it changes up the flow of the field quite a bit. People are able to access most of the field pretty damn fast, making respawns so much more important. Cold War era, like I stated before, we have the event page up on Paintball. You just search the Collapse 2, a scenario paintball event. And you'll see it listed there. Also has a story synopsis of what is going to be the lead up into this year. And as we get closer to the event, probably in August, we're going to be sprinkling in some on the event page, some more story drops. Maybe the factions talking their like after action review from how last year went from a faction perspective. Cool. So and then getting closer to the game, we drop the scenario, the role players, because we do have persistent role players throughout the entire game. We drop their dossiers, and their job is they're on the field, they're wearing yellow armbands, they're like NPCs in a video game. Yes, you cross them, you can't really kill them, but they can kill you, kind of thing. And you're just gonna have more of a harder time if you screw around with them. So it's in your best interest to work with them if it makes sense to. So
that's cool.
Missions, flags. We got some very interesting stuff mission-wise in the works that we had to ask permission for to make sure, hey, are we covered by insurance if we do this?
I think I remember you mentioned some of that. Yeah. Exciting.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's going to be awesome. Because I haven't seen this stuff done in the game, and we very much want to put on a game that people leave and go, yo, that was fantastic. And thankfully, we really didn't get any bad reviews that I've ever heard of, at least for the collapse last year. So we were very proud of how that game went down. Nothing but compliments from everybody who attended. We came just shy of 300 players as well.
Wow.
So for a first year December game, that is awesome for a one-day game. We couldn't be happier. We were hoping for 200. We got literally just shy of 300. We're like,
Wow,
hey,
that's a good
we're doing
turnout.
this. We're clearly doing this again.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, if you come play Saturday, you can come to the field on Sunday and play for free, because your entry for Saturday also gets you free entry for Sunday. I have a mag fed meetup and bring your own first strikes. And if you have any round ball, you can still use that on Sunday just to play rec ball if you want. So you can turn that, if you're coming from a distance, you can turn it into a full weekend thing if you really want. So to help justify it at least.
No, that's cool.
Outside of that, I'm sorry, the Brigade Program. BrigadeProgram.com is run by Ryan Sexton. He has a great web store now. It's not just GI and Empire products and all that. It is everybody's stuff.
Super cool.
Yeah, so I highly recommend checking his stuff out if you're looking for anything. He's got, again, phenomenal customer service with him. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to the Brigade Program Facebook page, and he can answer whatever. He's pretty quick on the response as well. So I think that covers my shout outs for the most part.
Dig it.
So,
well, thank you so much for taking the time, good sir. I appreciate you being on here with us today for episode 2. So hopefully we'll get this edited up and it'll be on YouTube in the next couple of days.
All right.
So
I'll be sharing it around. People are going to get so annoyed with me. Zuckerberg's going to be like, this guy again? Block.
This guy. All right, good sir. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening. And
right. Thank you.
We will see you soon.